Mike Peterson worked as a mechanic in a small town in Ohio. His tiny garage was struggling to stay open, but he never lost his willingness to help others. One rainy evening, while driving home in his old pickup truck, he spotted a stranded luxury car on a remote road. Despite having only $20 in his pocket for the week's groceries, he stopped to help. The car belonged to Robert, a successful venture capitalist from Chicago. What started as a simple roadside repair turned into a conversation that changed both their lives. Mike's deep knowledge of cars and his honest approach to helping others caught Robert's attention. Hi everyone, welcome to Mystic Tales. Today, I'm excited to share a new story with you. Mike wiped the sweat from his forehead as he looked around his small garage. The paint was peeling off the walls, and only 2 cars were in for repairs that week. His tools were old but well maintained. He had been running this place for 5 years, since his father passed away. "Hey Mike, the Johnson's car is ready for pickup," said Tom, his only employee and close friend since high school. "They called to say they'll be here tomorrow morning." Mike nodded while checking his account book. The numbers weren't good. He barely made enough to pay Tom's salary and keep the lights on. The bank loan payments were getting harder each month. "I might have to let you go soon, Tom. Business isn't doing well," Mike said quietly. "I can't keep up with the new auto shop that opened across town." Tom put down his wrench. "We'll figure something out. Your dad built this place from nothing. We can't give up now." The rain started falling as they closed up for the day. Mike's old pickup truck groaned as he turned the key. The clock showed 7:30 p.m. He had $20 in his wallet, meant for groceries until his next payment came through. The country road home was dark and wet. Mike's headlights caught something in the distance. A black Mercedes had pulled over, hazard lights blinking. Most people would drive past, but Mike remembered how his father never ignored someone in need. He pulled over and grabbed his toolbox. A man in an expensive suit stood under an umbrella, phone in hand. "Having trouble?" Mike asked, approaching the car. The man looked relieved. "Yes, the engine just died. I've been trying to call for help, but there's no signal out here. I'm a mechanic. Mind if I take a look?" "Please do. I'm Robert, by the way." Mike opened the hood and checked the engine. The problem was clear: a loose connection in the alternator. He could fix it in 15 minutes. "Your alternator connection came loose. It's a common problem in this model. I can fix it right now if you'd like," Mike said. Robert watched as Mike worked efficiently in the rain. "You seem to know these cars well." "I've been fixing cars since I was 12. My dad taught me everything about European models. He always said knowing luxury cars would pay off someday." Mike smiled, remembering his father's words. The engine started smoothly after Mike's repairs. Robert reached for his wallet, but Mike waved him off. "No charge, just glad I could help." "You must have your own shop," Robert said, looking impressed. Peterson's Auto Repair. Been in the family for 30 years, though times are tough now. Robert pulled out his business card. "I'd like to hear more about your shop. How about coffee tomorrow morning?" Mike took the card, noticing the venture capital firm name. He didn't know then that this simple act of kindness would change everything. The next morning, Mike met Robert at the local diner. He felt out of place in his work clothes, while Robert wore a crisp business suit. The waitress brought them coffee as they settled into a booth. "Tell me about your shop, Mike," Robert said, stirring his coffee. Mike explained his situation honestly. "I inherited it from my dad. We specialize in European cars, but the new chain shop in town has taken most of our customers. They have fancy equipment and lower prices." "What would you do differently if you had the resources?" Robert asked. Mike had thought about this many times. "I'd modernize the diagnostic equipment. Add a proper waiting room for customers. Maybe expand to include more service bays." "But that takes money I don't have." Robert took out a notebook. "How much would you need to make these changes?" $200,000, Mike said. "I did the math last year when I tried getting a bank loan. They turned me down because of my current revenue." "What makes your shop different from the chain stores?" Robert asked. Mike leaned forward. "We treat every car like it's our own. I know the history of each regular customer's vehicle. We don't upsell unnecessary repairs. That's how my dad ran things, and that's how I do it." Robert nodded slowly. "That's exactly what caught my attention last night. You could have easily charged me hundreds for that repair, but you didn't." "It wasn't right to charge for a simple fix," Mike said. "I've been looking to invest in small businesses with potential," Robert explained. "Your knowledge of luxury cars and honest approach, that's rare these days." Mike set down his coffee cup. "What are you suggesting?" "I'd like to invest in your shop. $200,000 for a 40% stake. You keep full control of daily operations, but I help with business strategy and connections." Mike stared at Robert. "Why would you take that risk on a failing shop?" "I invest in people, not just businesses," Robert said. "You showed integrity last night. That's worth investing in. Plus, I did some research this morning. Your town has one of the highest luxury car ownership rates in the state. There's a real market here." They spent the next hour discussing details. Robert explained the investment process, profit sharing, and how they would document everything legally. "Take a few days to think about it," Robert said, standing up. "Have your lawyer review everything. I'll send over the paperwork this afternoon." Mike walked to his shop afterward, his mind racing. Tom was waiting outside. "Where were you?" "The Johnsons are here for their car," Tom said. "I need to tell you something," Mike replied. "But first, let's take care of the Johnsons." The possibility of saving his father's legacy felt real for the first time in years. A week later, Mike sat in his small office, reviewing the investment contract with his lawyer, Steve. The paperwork was straightforward and fair, just as Robert had promised. "Everything looks solid," Steve said, pointing to key sections. "The terms are clear. You keep majority ownership and full operational control. Robert's firm provides the capital and business guidance." Mike signed the papers. His hands were shaking slightly. "I keep thinking this is too good to be true." "It's a smart investment on their part," Steve replied. "Luxury car repairs are profitable when done right. You have the skills, they have the capital." The next few weeks brought rapid but careful changes. Robert helped Mike create a detailed business plan. They started with essential upgrades first. "We need to order the diagnostic equipment today," Mike told Tom while cleaning the garage. "The company can install it next week." Tom looked around the shop. "What about the rest of this place?" "A step at a time," Mike said. Robert suggested we focus on equipment first, then renovate the customer area. The new equipment arrived as scheduled. Mike spent evenings learning the modern diagnostic systems. His knowledge of cars made the transition easier than expected. "This machine confirms what I already knew about the Miller's BMW," Mike explained to Tom. "But now we can show customers exactly what's wrong on the screen." Word spread quickly about the shop's upgrades. Previous customers who had switched to the chain store started returning. "Your old shop did better work," Mrs. Anderson said while dropping off her Mercedes. "The other place never got my transmission quite right." Mike maintained his father's honest approach. When Mr. Wilson brought in his Audi, Mike found a simple fix. "It just needs a sensor replacement," Mike told him. "The other shop quoted you for a full system repair, but that's not necessary." Robert visited every few weeks to check progress and offer advice. During one visit, he noticed the increasing customer flow. "You're building trust back in the community," Robert said. "That's exactly what we wanted to see." Mike nodded. "Dad always said trust is harder to build than a business." The shop's books showed steady improvement. Mike could finally pay Tom a better salary and hire an additional mechanic. "We need to start planning the renovation next month," Robert suggested. "The numbers support it now." Mike looked at the faded walls and cracked floor. "I'd like to keep some of the old character. Dad's original sign should stay." "Of course," Robert agreed. "We're improving the shop, not erasing its history." That evening, Mike stood in the empty garage. The mix of new equipment and his father's old tools felt right. The shop was growing, but its heart remained the same. 3 months into the partnership, the renovation began. Mike and Tom worked from a temporary setup in the back while construction crews updated the main garage area. The waiting room will have large windows, Mike explained to a regular customer, Mr. Thompson. You'll be able to see us working on your car. That's good thinking, Mr. Thompson replied. I always wondered what was happening to my Porsche back there. The renovation revealed old problems that needed fixing. The electrical system needed updating, and the concrete floor had hidden cracks. These repairs will cost extra, Mike told Robert during their weekly meeting. Should we scale back other changes? Robert reviewed the numbers on his laptop. No. Let's do it right the first time. The shop's income can handle it. Your customer base has grown 30% already. Mike had also started a training program for local high school students interested in auto repair. He remembered how his father had taught him. We need young people who understand both old and new cars, Mike told Tom. These kids will learn proper repair work, not just computer diagnostics. Sarah, a senior from the local high school, showed special promise. My dad says you fixed his BMW better than the dealership, she said while learning about engine systems. The shop's reputation grew beyond their small town. People from neighboring cities started bringing their cars in. I drove an hour to get here, a new customer said, dropping off his Audi. My friend said, you're the only ones who really know these engines. Mike kept his prices fair and continued giving honest assessments. When Robert suggested raising rates to match other luxury car shops, Mike disagreed. We're making good money now, Mike said. I want to keep prices where regular people can afford quality repairs. Robert respected this decision. That's why this partnership works. You understand what matters to customers. One evening, Mike found an old photo of his father working on a car. He hung it in the new waiting room next to the modern coffee machine and comfortable chairs. Your dad would be proud, Tom said, looking at the photo. We kept his values while moving forward. The shop's success attracted attention from the local business community. The Chamber of Commerce asked Mike to speak about small business growth. Just remember what got us here, Robert advised. Honest work and treating people right. That's what made me want to invest in the first place. Mike thought back to that rainy night when he stopped to help a stranded driver. Such a simple decision had led to all this. 1 year after Robert's investment, Peterson's auto repair had transformed completely. The renovated shop now had 5 service bays, all equipped with modern technology. Mike had hired 2 more experienced mechanics and kept Sarah on after her graduation. We're booked 3 weeks ahead now, Tom said one morning, checking the schedule. Remember when we worried about having no customers? Mike walked through the shop, watching his team work. Each bay had a different luxury car under repair. The waiting room was full of customers working on their laptops or enjoying coffee. Mr. Peterson, could you look at something? Sarah called from under a Mercedes. I think I found why the engine's making that noise. Mike checked her work. Good catch. That's exactly what's causing it. You're learning fast. Robert visited for their 1-year partnership review. They sat in Mike's new office, looking over the financial reports. Your revenue has tripled, Robert said. But more importantly, you've built something sustainable. The customer loyalty numbers are impressive. Mike nodded. We still have people driving from 2 hours away. Word of mouth keeps bringing new customers. Have you thought about what's next? Robert asked. The building next door is for sale, Mike replied. We could expand, add a dedicated area for classic car restoration. Dad always wanted to do that. Robert smiled. Send me the numbers. If they make sense, we can discuss another investment. That evening, Mike stayed late at the shop. He walked through the quiet building, remembering how close he had come to losing it all. The new equipment and clean floors contrasted with the old photo of his father on the wall. Tom came in to grab his forgotten phone. Still here? You should go home. Oh. Just thinking, Mike said. A year ago I had $20 in my pocket and almost lost the shop. Now we're planning an expansion. Up because you stopped to help someone on a rainy night, Tom replied. Mike looked at his father's photo. He always said doing the right thing matters more than making money. Turns out you can do both. The next morning, Mike arrived early as usual. A new customer was waiting with a broken-down Jaguar. Someone recommended your shop, the man said. Said you treat every car like it's your own. Mike grabbed his tools. That's exactly what we do. Let's take a look at what's wrong. Some things had changed, but the heart of Peterson's auto repair remained the same. Mike still treated every customer with honesty and every car with care, just like his father had taught him. Loved this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Mystic Tales for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.